A trail of blood led directly to his motorcycle, tiny droplets, too small for an adult. When Marcus followed the trail, he found a 5-year-old boy hiding behind an abandoned warehouse, trembling, injured, and being chased. But the child's next words changed everything. "I chose you because you're the only one brave enough to help me." Before embarking on this story, like and share a moment when someone unexpected became your hero. Your engagement helps us bring more inspiring stories to you. Blood. That was the first thing Marcus "Bone" Thompson saw when he stepped outside his house at 6 in the morning. Small drops of dark red on the concrete, still fresh, glistening in the pale light of dawn. His body went rigid. 30 years of survival instincts kicked in before his brain could process what he was seeing. Blood on his property, blood leading somewhere. Marcus was 54 years old, a founding member of the Hells Angels chapter in Cedar Ridge, Nevada. He had seen violence, he had seen death, he had buried friends and enemies alike. But something about this blood made his stomach turn in a way it had not turned in decades, because the drops were small, too small. He crouched down, his knees cracking, and examined the trail more closely. The drops led from the sidewalk across his driveway and stopped directly at his motorcycle. His black Harley-Davidson Fat Boy, parked exactly where he had left it the night before. But now there were tiny, bloody fingerprints on the chrome exhaust pipe, smeared marks on the leather seat, as if someone very small had touched his bike deliberately, leaving a message that only he would find. "What the hell?" Marcus whispered. He pulled out his phone and called the one person he trusted with his life. Big John answered on the second ring. "Brother, it's 6 in the morning. Someone better be dead. I need you at my place. Now, bring whoever's awake. And John, bring your piece." The silence on the other end told him Big John understood. 15 minutes. Marcus hung up and turned back to the blood trail. His instincts screamed at him to call the police, to step back, to not get involved. But there was something about those tiny fingerprints that would not let him walk away. He followed the trail. The drops led away from his motorcycle, across his yard, and toward the back fence. They continued through a gap in the wooden boards into the alley behind his property. Marcus squeezed through, his leather jacket scraping against the rough wood. The alley was narrow and dark, lined with dumpsters and abandoned crates. The blood trail continued, sometimes fading, sometimes appearing in small pools where someone had clearly stopped to rest or to hide. Marcus moved slowly, his boots silent on the cracked pavement. Every shadow was a threat. Every sound made him tense, but he kept following, because somewhere at the end of this trail was a child, a hurt child who had chosen his motorcycle out of all the houses on the street. Why? Why him? The trail turned left, then right, weaving through the industrial area behind the residential blocks. Finally, it ended at an old warehouse that had been abandoned for years. The loading dock door was slightly open, just enough for a small body to slip through. Marcus paused. He could hear his own heartbeat, loud and steady. He could smell rust and decay, and something else, something like fear. He pushed the door open. The warehouse was dark, filled with old machinery and broken pallets. Dust floated in the thin beams of light that came through the cracked windows. And there, in the corner, hidden behind a rusted forklift, was a small figure, a boy, no more than 5 years old. Curled into a ball, shaking, his right hand wrapped in what looked like a torn piece of his own shirt. The makeshift bandage was soaked with blood. Marcus approached slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Hey, buddy. Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The boy's head snapped up. His eyes were huge, filled with terror, but also with something else. Recognition. "You came," the boy whispered. "You followed it. I knew you would come." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You left that trail for me. The blood on my bike." The boy nodded, tears streaming down his dirty face. "I saw you at the gas station. You helped the old lady with her bags. You smiled at me. Nobody smiles at me, I thought. I thought maybe you would help me too," Marcus remembered. 3 days ago, a quick stop for fuel. An elderly woman struggling with grocery bags. He had carried them to her car without thinking, and there had been a boy watching from across the street. A boy with sad eyes. "What's your name, son?" Tyler James Whitmore." "Okay, Tyler, I'm Marcus. Can you tell me what happened? Who hurt your hand?" The boy's face crumpled. "The bad men. They took me. They took me from my mom. She was screaming and they hit her and they put me in a van and they said if I was good, nothing bad would happen. But I wasn't good. I ran away. I broke the window with my hand and I ran and I ran." He was hyperventilating now, his small chest heaving. Marcus moved closer and gently placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Breathe, Tyler. You're safe now. I've got you. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." The sound of motorcycles rumbled in the distance. Big John and the others were arriving. Marcus felt a wave of relief, but also a growing sense of dread. Because if someone had kidnapped this child, they would be looking for him, and they would not stop until they found him. Tyler grabbed Marcus's jacket with his uninjured hand. "Please don't let them take me back. Please. They said they were going to sell me. They said I would never see my mom again." Marcus looked into the boy's terrified eyes and made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "I promise you, Tyler, on my life and on the patch I wear, nobody is taking you anywhere. You're under the protection of the Hell's Angels now, and we protect our own." The sound of boots on concrete echoed through the warehouse. Big John's massive frame appeared in the doorway, followed by 3 other brothers. "Bone, what the hell is going on?" Marcus stood up, Tyler's small hand still clutching his jacket. "We've got a situation, brother. This boy was kidnapped. Someone's running a trafficking operation in our town, and they're going to come looking for him." Big John's face hardened. "Then let them come." But Marcus knew it would not be that simple. Because as he looked at Tyler's face, he noticed something he had missed before. A small bruise on the boy's neck, shaped like a signet ring. A very specific signet ring that Marcus had seen before. On the hand of Chief William Garrett, head of the Cedar Ridge Police Department. The Hells Angels clubhouse was not a place for children. It smelled like motor oil, cigarette smoke, and decades of hard living. The walls were covered with patches, photographs, and memorabilia from 100 different rides. A pool table dominated the center of the main room, and a long bar stretched along one wall. But today, none of that mattered. Today, the clubhouse had become a fortress. Marcus sat at a table in the corner, watching Tyler sleep on an old couch. One of the brothers had found a clean blanket. Another had produced a stuffed bear from somewhere nobody asked about. The boy had finally stopped shaking, his injured hand now properly bandaged by Rosie, Big John's wife and a former nurse. "The cut's deep but clean," Rosie had said. "He must have gone through a window, poor baby. He'll need stitches, but I've done what I can for now." The room was full, 16 members of the Cedar Ridge Hells Angels, plus a few old ladies who had come when they heard about the child. Everyone was armed, everyone was angry. Big John stood by the bar, his arms crossed over his massive chest. "All right, Bone, tell us everything. Start from the beginning." Marcus took a deep breath. "I found the blood trail at 6 this morning, followed it to the old Henderson warehouse. The boy, Tyler, was hiding there. He said he was kidnapped, escaped through a window, and ran until he found my place. He remembered me from the gas station 3 days ago." "Why your place?" asked Spider, a lean man with tattoos covering every visible inch of skin. "Because I smiled at him. Because I helped an old lady with her groceries. He thought that made me safe." Silence fell over the room. These were hard men, men who had done hard things. But the idea of a child choosing them as saviors hit something deep. "What about the cops?" asked Preacher, the club's sergeant-at-arms. "We should call this in." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I don't think we can. The boy has a bruise on his neck, shaped like a signet ring. I've seen that ring before. Chief Garrett wears it." The silence turned to something colder. "You're saying the chief of police is involved in kidnapping children?" Big John's voice was deadly quiet. "I'm saying I saw what I saw. I'm not making accusations without proof. But until we know who we can trust, we keep this in-house." Preacher walked to the window and looked out at the parking lot. "If Garrett's involved, this isn't just some random snatch. This is organized, connected. We could be poking a hornet's nest the size of Texas. Then we poke carefully, Marcus replied. But we don't abandon that boy. Look at him, brothers, 5 years old. He cut his own hand open, escaping from monsters, ran through the night, and had the courage to leave a trail for a stranger he hoped would save him. That's more guts than most grown men have. Spider walked over to the couch and looked down at Tyler's sleeping face. He picked us. Out of everyone in this town, he picked the Hell's Angels to save him. That means something. It means everything, Big John said. All right, here's what we do. Rosie, you stay with the kid. Don't let him out of your sight. Spider, I want you to dig into Tyler's background. Find out who his mother is, where they live, what happened. Preacher, reach out to our contacts in the sheriff's department. See if anyone's reported a kidnapping. And Bone. Marcus looked up. You and I are going to have a conversation with some people who might know about trafficking operations in the area. I know a few names from the old days, people who owe us favors. As the brothers dispersed to their tasks, Marcus walked over to the couch. Tyler was still asleep, but his face was troubled, his small hands twitching as if fighting invisible demons. Marcus thought about his own daughter, gone now for 20 years. Cancer had taken her at 7. He had never gotten over it, never stopped seeing her face in every child he passed on the street. Maybe that was why he had helped the old lady at the gas station. Maybe that was why he had smiled at a sad little boy. And maybe that was why Tyler's blood trail had ended at his motorcycle. Some things were not coincidence. Some things were fate. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know you have the boy. Return him within 24 hours, or we will burn everything you love to the ground. Marcus stared at the message, his jaw tightening. Then he typed a response. Come and try. We'll be waiting. He showed the message to Big John. The big man read it twice, then smiled grimly. Well, brother, looks like we've got their attention. They're scared, Marcus said. Scared enough to threaten us directly. That means Tyler knows something they can't afford to get out. Big John nodded. Then we need to find out what that something is, before they make good on their threat. But they both knew that threats from men who trafficked children were not empty. Whatever was coming, it was coming fast, and the Hell's Angels would be ready. Spider worked fast. Within 3 hours, he had a complete file on Tyler James Whitmore. The brothers gathered around the table as he spread out printouts and photographs. Tyler was still sleeping, watched over by Rosie and 2 prospects who had been given very clear instructions. Anyone who came through that door without the right patch would be met with maximum force. Tyler James Whitmore, age 5, Spider began. Mother is Sarah Whitmore, 32, single parent. Father unknown, not listed on the birth certificate. They live in an apartment complex on Maple Street, the one near the old factory. I know the place, Preacher said. Working class. Lots of single mums, shift workers. Sarah works 2 jobs. Waitress during the day at Denny's, night clerk at the Quick Stop on 5th. She was reported missing 4 days ago. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Missing, not Tyler. The mother was reported missing. Spider nodded grimly. That's where it gets interesting. The report was filed by her sister in Phoenix. She said Sarah stopped answering calls, stopped showing up to work. When police did a welfare check, the apartment was empty. No signs of struggle, but all their belongings were still there. Clothes, toys, food in the fridge. And Tyler? No mention of him in the report. None at all. As far as the official record is concerned, Tyler Whitmore doesn't exist. Big John slammed his fist on the table. How does a 5-year-old not exist? He has to have a birth certificate, medical records, something. He does. But they've been sealed, classified. I tried to access them through our usual channels and hit a wall I've never seen before. Federal-level encryption. The room went silent. Federal involvement meant this was bigger than a local trafficking ring. Much bigger. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Spider the threatening text message. They contacted me 2 hours ago. Gave us 24 hours to return Tyler. Spider examined the number. Burner phone. Untraceable, but the language is interesting. We will burn everything you love. That's not street level. That's professional, someone trained in psychological operations. Military, Preacher asked. Or law enforcement? Same playbook. Marcus walked to the window and looked out at the quiet street. Cedar Ridge was a small city, maybe 50,000 people. It had its share of crime, drugs, the usual problems, but organized child trafficking with federal cover-up, that was something else entirely. We need to wake Tyler up, he said finally. I know he's exhausted and scared, but we need to know what he saw, what he knows, why they want him back so badly. Rosie looked up from her spot by the couch. Give me a few more minutes. Let me talk to him first, woman to woman. I mean, adult to child. He needs to feel safe before you start asking questions. Marcus nodded. You're right. Thank you, Rosie. While they waited, Big John pulled Marcus aside. I reached out to my contact in the sheriff's department, Deputy Martinez, good man. He says there's been whispers for months about something big happening in Cedar Ridge. Girls going missing from the foster system, runaway boys never seen again. But every time someone starts investigating, the case gets transferred to a special unit that answers directly to Chief Garrett. And then the cases disappear, closed due to lack of evidence, or the missing kids are found dead from overdoses and ruled as runaways who got in over their heads. Marcus felt sick. How long has this been going on? Martinez thinks at least 2 years, maybe longer. But here's the thing, Bone. He says there's a federal task force that's supposed to be investigating. Been in town for 6 months, but they haven't made a single arrest, haven't even interviewed anyone. It's like they're here to watch, not to act, or to protect. Big John's face was grim. That's what I'm afraid of. A small voice interrupted them. Mr. Marcus. They turned. Tyler was awake, sitting up on the couch with Rosie's arm around him. His face was pale, his eyes still haunted, but there was something else there now. Determination. Hey, buddy. Marcus walked over and knelt in front of him. How are you feeling? My hand hurts, but I'm okay. Tyler looked around the room at all the leather-clad bikers watching him. Are all these men your friends? They're my brothers, and they're going to help keep you safe. Tyler nodded slowly. The lady said you need to know what I saw, so you can stop the bad men. Marcus glanced at Rosie, who gave him a small nod. Only if you're ready, Tyler. You don't have to talk about anything you don't want to. The boy took a shaky breath. I want to, because maybe if I tell you, you can save my mom. They still have her, in the place with the other mommies and kids. Every man in the room leaned forward. What place, Tyler? Can you tell us about it? Tyler closed his eyes, remembering. It was underground, cold. They kept us in rooms with no windows. Lots of kids. Some crying, some not crying anymore. The men wore masks, but one of them didn't wear a mask when he came to check on us. Did you see his face? Tyler opened his eyes and looked directly at Marcus. He was a policeman. I saw his badge, and he had a ring, a big ring with a bird on it. He said we were all going to go on a trip to new families who paid lots of money for us. The ring with a bird. Chief Garrett's signet ring bore the image of an eagle. Marcus stood up slowly, his blood cold with rage. Tyler, you're the bravest kid I've ever met. And I promise you, on everything I am, we're going to find your mom. We're going to stop these men, and they're going to pay for what they've done. Big John stepped forward, his voice hard as iron. Brothers, you heard the boy. We've got children being sold in our own backyard, cops involved, feds looking the other way. This isn't just about Tyler anymore. This is about every kid they've taken, every mother they've destroyed. He looked around the room, meeting every man's eyes. So I'm asking you, are we in, all the way, no matter what it costs? One by one, the Hells Angels raised their fists. All the way, they said in unison. Marcus looked down at Tyler, who was watching with wide eyes. You hear that, buddy? You're not alone anymore. You've got an army now. Tyler's lip trembled. Then, for the first time since Marcus had found him, the boy smiled. But none of them knew that at that very moment, a black SUV was parked 2 blocks away, and the man inside was already making a call. They're at the Hells Angels clubhouse. The boy talked. We need to move tonight. The war was about to begin. The attack came at midnight. Marcus was standing guard at the front window when he saw the headlights. 3 black SUVs rolling down the street with no sirens, no lights, moving like predators in the dark. "Contact!" he shouted. 3 vehicles coming fast! The clubhouse exploded into motion. Brothers grabbed weapons, took positions, flipped tables for cover. Rosie scooped Tyler into her arms and ran toward the basement, where a reinforced safe room had been built decades ago for exactly this kind of situation. "Stay with her," Marcus told Tyler as Rosie carried him down the stairs. "No matter what you hear, stay quiet and stay hidden." Tyler's eyes were huge with fear, but he nodded. "Be careful, Mr. Marcus." The SUVs stopped 50 yards from the clubhouse. Doors opened. Men in tactical gear poured out, at least 15 of them, carrying assault rifles and moving with military precision. Big John appeared at Marcus's shoulder. "Those aren't cops. That's private military, contractors." "Expensive ones," Marcus agreed. "Someone's paying a lot of money to get that boy back." A bullhorn crackled from behind the SUVs. "This is your only warning. Send out the child and no one gets hurt. You have 60 seconds. Marcus picked up his own radio and keyed the mic. "This is Marcus Thompson. That boy is under our protection. You want him, you come through us. And brother, you better bring more men." Silence. Then gunfire erupted. The front windows shattered. Bullets punched through the walls, sending splinters flying. The brothers returned fire, their shots disciplined and accurate. 2 attackers went down in the first exchange, but these were not amateurs. They moved in coordinated teams, covering each other, advancing steadily. They had training, they had equipment, they had numbers. What they did not have was something to fight for. Marcus dropped behind an overturned pool table and reloaded. Beside him, Spider was bleeding from a gash on his forehead, but still firing. Preacher had taken a round in the shoulder, but refused to fall back. "We can't hold them forever," Big John shouted over the noise. "We need another play." Marcus's mind raced. Then he remembered something. Deputy Martinez, the honest cop Big John had contacted. If they could get word out, if they could expose what was happening here tonight. "Cover me!" Marcus sprinted toward the back office, bullets chasing him across the room. He grabbed the landline phone and dialed the number Big John had given him. Martinez answered on the first ring. "Who is this?" "Deputy, this is Marcus Thompson, Hell's Angels. We're under attack at our clubhouse, private military contractors. We have a kidnapped child they're trying to take back. Chief Garrett is involved. We need help now." A long pause. "I'm on my way. And Thompson, I'm bringing people I trust." "Hold on." Marcus hung up and ran back to the fight. But when he reached the main room, his heart stopped. The attackers had breached the side door. 3 of them were inside, moving toward the basement stairs. Toward Tyler, Marcus raised his weapon and fired. 1 man dropped. Big John took out another, but the 3rd reached the stairs and disappeared into the darkness below. "No!" Marcus ran after him, taking the steps 3 at a time. The basement was dark. He could hear footsteps ahead, then Rosie's scream, then a child's cry. He turned the corner and saw them. The contractor had Tyler by the arm, dragging him toward a back exit Marcus did not even know existed. Rosie was on the ground, unconscious, blood pooling beneath her head. "Let him go," Marcus said, his voice steady, despite the rage burning in his chest. The contractor turned. He was young, maybe 30, with cold eyes and a professional grip on his rifle. "Back off, old man. This doesn't concern you. That boy concerns me. Everything about him concerns me. Now let him go, or I will end you where you stand." The contractor smiled. "You're outgunned, outnumbered, and out of time. The people I work for have resources you can't imagine. Walk away. Pretend this never happened. Live." Tyler was crying, struggling against the man's grip. "Mr. Marcus, please." Marcus looked at the boy, at those terrified eyes that had trusted him enough to leave a blood trail to his motorcycle, at those small hands that had been brave enough to break through a window and run through the night. He made his choice. Marcus dropped his gun and raised his hands. The contractor's smile widened, then Marcus moved. 30 years of bar fights, prison brawls, and street warfare compressed into 3 seconds. He closed the distance before the contractor could react, knocked the rifle aside, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. The contractor dropped Tyler and staggered back, choking. Marcus did not give him time to recover. When it was over, the contractor lay motionless on the concrete floor. Marcus scooped Tyler into his arms, checked on Rosie, found a pulse, then carried them both toward the stairs. Above, the gunfire had stopped. Blue and red lights flickered through the shattered windows. Deputy Martinez had arrived, and he had brought the cavalry. The aftermath was chaos. 12 contractors were dead or captured. 3 Hells Angels were wounded, none fatally. The clubhouse looked like a war zone, bullet holes in every wall, furniture destroyed, windows blown out. But Tyler was safe. That was all that mattered. Deputy Martinez stood in the middle of the wreckage, coordinating with a team of state troopers he had called in from 3 counties away. Men he trusted, men who were not on Chief Garrett's payroll. "We've got a problem," Martinez told Marcus as paramedics loaded Rosie into an ambulance. "Garrett knows we're on to him. He's disappeared. House is empty, office is cleared out. He's running. He won't get far," Marcus said. "Not with what Tyler can testify to." "That's the thing." Martinez lowered his voice. "One of the contractors is talking, trying to cut a deal, and what he's saying. It's worse than we thought. Tell me." Martinez pulled out a tablet and showed Marcus a series of photographs. Warehouses, shipping containers, children's faces, dozens of them captured from security footage. "This isn't just Cedar Ridge. This is a network spanning 6 states. Kids taken from vulnerable families, processed through fake foster agencies, then sold to the highest bidder. Garrett was the local coordinator, but he answers to someone much bigger." "Who?" Martinez swiped to another image. A man in an expensive suit, standing next to a senator at a fundraising gala. Vincent Cross, billionaire, tech money, has connections in Washington that go all the way to the top. He owns the company that employed these contractors, and according to our prisoner, he personally oversees the auctions. Marcus stared at the photograph. Vincent Cross looked like every other rich businessman he had ever seen. Polished, confident, untouchable. "How do we get him?" "We can't. Not directly. He's got lawyers, politicians, judges in his pocket. The moment we file charges, evidence disappears, witnesses recant, cases get thrown out. He's been doing this for years because he's built a system that protects him." Marcus thought about Tyler, about the underground room with no windows, about the children who cried and the children who did not cry anymore. "Then we don't use the system," he said quietly. Martinez gave him a sharp look. "Thompson, I can't be part of anything illegal. I've got a badge. I've got responsibilities. I'm not asking you to. Just tell me where Cross is going to be. Let me worry about the rest." The deputy was silent for a long moment. Then he handed Marcus a slip of paper. "There's a private airfield outside of town. Cross has a jet there. According to our intel, he's planning to leave the country tonight. Once he's gone forever." Marcus took the paper. "Thank you, Deputy, for everything. Just promise me one thing. Whatever you do, make sure that boy gets to testify. His story needs to be heard. The world needs to know what these monsters have been doing. I promise." As Martinez walked away, Big John appeared at Marcus's side. His arm was in a sling, his face battered, but his eyes were burning. "I heard. What's the plan?" Marcus looked at his brothers gathered in the parking lot. Wounded, exhausted, but ready. Every single one of them. "We're going to the airfield. We're going to stop Vincent Cross, and we're going to make sure he never hurts another child again." Big John nodded. "And if he's got more contractors?" Marcus smiled grimly. "Then God help them, because we won't." The private airfield was silent under the stars. Vincent Cross's jet sat on the runway, engines warming, ready for takeoff. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, but there were only 6 of them. Cross had been confident that his Cedar Ridge problem was being handled. He was wrong. The Hells Angels came from 3 directions at once. silent, deadly. Years of brotherhood and battle had forged them into something more than a motorcycle club. They were a family bound by blood and fire. The guards never stood a chance. Marcus led the charge onto the aircraft. He found Vincent Cross in the main cabin, sitting in a leather chair with a glass of whiskey in his hand. The billionaire looked up as Marcus entered, more annoyed than afraid. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Cross asked. "The people who will come for you if you touch me?" Marcus walked toward him slowly. "I know exactly who you are. You're the man who built a business selling children. You're the man who destroyed families for profit. You're the man who thought money could protect you from justice." Cross stood up, trying to maintain his composure. "I have lawyers, connections. You can't prove anything. I don't need to prove anything. Tyler Whitmore already did. He saw your operation. He identified your people, and right now, federal agents who aren't on your payroll are raiding every location he described." For the first time, fear flickered in Cross's eyes. "That's impossible. My contacts would have warned me." "Your contacts are in handcuffs. Deputy Martinez made sure of that." Marcus stepped closer. "It's over, Cross. All of it." Cross's composure finally cracked. He lunged for a hidden compartment, pulling out a small pistol, but Marcus was faster. He caught the man's wrist, twisted, and sent the gun clattering across the floor. "You think this ends with me?" Cross spat. "I'm just one piece. There are others. Powerful people who will continue this work long after I'm gone. Maybe, but Tyler's testimony will expose enough of them to start a fire that can't be put out, and that fire starts with you." Sirens wailed in the distance. Deputy Martinez had kept his word. As state troopers swarmed the airfield, Marcus watched Vincent Cross being led away in handcuffs. The billionaire's face was pale, his arrogance shattered. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. But that was not the real victory. The real victory came 3 days later, when Tyler was reunited with his mother. Sarah Whitmore had been found in an underground facility 200 miles away, along with 37 other victims. She was thin, traumatized, but alive. When she saw Tyler running toward her across the hospital lobby, she fell to her knees and held him like she would never let go. Marcus watched from a distance, tears streaming down his weathered face. Beside him, Big John put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good, brother. That boy chose right when he picked you." Marcus shook his head. "He saved himself. All I did was follow a blood trail. Sometimes that's all it takes, one person brave enough to follow, to not look away." A month later, Marcus received a letter. Inside was a drawing in crayon, a big motorcycle, a man in a leather jacket, and a small boy holding his hand. At the bottom, in careful, childish letters, Tyler had written, "Thank you for being brave. You're my hero forever. Love, Tyler." Marcus hung the drawing in his garage, right next to his motorcycle. Every morning when he looked at it, he remembered the lesson that a 5-year-old had taught him. Sometimes heroes wear suits and badges, sometimes they wear leather and ride Harleys. But the truest heroes are the ones who refuse to look away when someone needs help. Tyler had left a trail of blood because he believed one man would be brave enough to follow it, and Marcus had proven him right. The end.